Hey y'all, my name is Priscilla and welcome back to my channel Bookie Charm. For today's video, I want to talk to you about two recent poetry books that I've read. So this is going to be a dual review of Virgin by Analicia Sotelo and Junk by Tommy Pico. So I finished Junk first, so let's talk about that. So Junk is the third in Pico's series of poetry books, another being IRL, which I've also read, about book-length stories and poems all brought together with this very stream of consciousness writing style. Junk in particular is written in couplets, and that formatting and choice is really the only thing that strings together all of these chaotic thoughts. So previously when I read IRL, I listened to the audiobook as I read along, and I thought that that enriched experience, hearing Tommy Pico actually read his own words, was very different than reading the paperback version, because his performance brings a lot to his writing with his enunciation and his style and cadence and his exaggeration of certain words even brings a lot more to the story, and it's almost comedic and a bit of satire too, that I think you lose a bit of that when you read the writing itself if you're not used to hearing his voice. I tried to read this almost like in my head and out loud even sometimes with his voice to connect to it a lot better, and I think that that is a way to do it, because otherwise it can be very, very chaotic and almost nonsensical in a way if you're not used to his sort of performance. Pico really weaves a lot of interesting themes in his poetry, a lot of contemporary culture, pop culture commentary. He is indigenous, so that's going to be there as well as stories of colonization and his romance life. This is actually a book written in couplets, but is about a breakup. So all those things intertwined. His love for nacho cheese and Janet Jackson is also in here. That all said, I do like how Pico weaves his story of a breakup in this case, but also includes ideas and commentary on pop culture and colonization and racism and the many different puns he has for junk. The many puns in general. If you're a fan of puns, you'll definitely like this book and enjoy those little fun asides. Many of the lines in this book are fragmented and fleeting thoughts, so that's something that I think may not appeal to everyone, but I really like that Pico is speaking to a sort of contemporary culture that we have with engaging with information, especially on social media, with this sort of doom scrolling culture of engaging with a lot of information at various different levels, and the information that hits hard, that sticks with you over a lasting long period of time. I think that that is what this book feels like, and I really appreciate it for that. I did feel myself rereading a lot of these lines over and over again. It's definitely a book that I will revisit and want to reread and engage with differently at different times, and I think that that is the purpose of this book. So if you have, I definitely recommend you read this book all in one sitting. I think that's the best way to engage with it, and I honestly don't know how you would read it outside of that, because I felt like this book kind of held me hostage and wouldn't let me step away from it, because it is all one poem, one line. And I really, really enjoyed it, so I recommend you pick up Tommy Pico. So next up, let's talk about Virgin. So Virgin is a poetry collection written by a Mexican-American author, a local author actually here from Houston. And in Virgin, Sotelo is using various styles of prose to speak to the roles of women, and specifically Mexican-American women's sexuality, and how these roles of women have evolved over a span of time. A lot of the poems in here are actually inspired by Greek myths, so if that's something you're into, if you can't tell by the cover, that's definitely in here. I think that specifically this book captures a lot of femininity through a Texan Latinx lens, and I think that many will connect to it, but I definitely connected to it on a personal level because of that. I also connected with these poems because Sotelo has a very meditative, self-reflective sort of writing style. A lot of these poems are not lengthy, but want to make you take time with them, want to make you dissect them, especially with some of her wordplay and particular word choices. I found myself stopping a lot and having to Google terms and words and characters that she uses to understand the meaning of these poems. And I think that it's a really spectacular work for that. If you're looking for a work that really will make you kind of sit with and think about on a self-reflective kind of way. One of these poems is about a barbecue and the men that she encounters at a Texas summer barbecue and the desire for hunger, the hunger for love and connection to people. I thought that that was really spectacular. Some of these poems, there's an entire section called Myth, are related to Greek myth and Greek histories. There's a poem in here called South Texas Persephone, which is an amazing title and it's an amazing poem. But there are poems in here about Ariadne and the relationships to Minotaur and Theseus. I was also really impressed with how she sort of leans into this idea of not only sexuality, but of heartbreak, and how intense and extremely observant this debut is. It is a debut, and I thought it was just really well done. So highly recommend this as another collection of poetry. All right, y'all, so that is all I have to say about these two poetry books. And I know that some of y'all like it when I talk about poetry on this channel like this. It can be a little bit difficult sometimes, but I hope that maybe by reviewing them that you will put these on your radar. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below if you have recommendations for poetry that you think I might enjoy, or especially if any authors of color that you enjoy that write own voices poetry. That would be really great too. But that's all I have for this video today. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye.